happened since, probably it's not going to happen again.
To win that race and to see the people come out there, all the people, all those other guys, whether they loved him or hated him, they respected him. And when they walked out there after we won that race and he come down pit road, there's never been a more special moment in the history of this sport, I don't think.
Did he ever tell you the 98 Daytona 500 was the greatest moment of his career?
Dale had this look he could put in his eyes that would stare completely through you, or it'd make you melt because you knew it was a happiness look. And he had that look in his eye after the race. I'll never forget the look in his eye.
The Daytona 500 is ours. We've won it, we've won it, we've won it.
That just gives you chills, doesn't it? You know, Larry Mack, I heard that there is a cigar story that's never been told about that win as well. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, we went to so many different suites. We went to the Unical suite, we went to Bill French Jr. suite, and I think it was at Bill French Jr. suite.
And this is after the race.
Yes, he gave Richard Childress, myself, and Dale a victory cigar. Well, Richard and I love cigars. Now, we never really lit these cigars because we didn't have time, and then we come to pit road, and all the affiliate, all the media's lined up, and we're just going from one to the other. And I looked at Dale, and he had that cigar hanging out of his mouth, and he was looking a little green. I went, "Are you okay?" He went, "I don't feel too good." I said, "How long have you been chewing that cigar?" He said, "Well, ever since they gave it." I said, "I think you might want to get rid of it. I believe you've been swallowing the juice and you're getting sick on the cigar." So we got a lot more celebrating to do. Yeah.
You know, Richard Childress there talking about how Dale Sr. had that look in his eye and he could see right through you. I think we saw a similar look in Victory Lane last night with Dale Earnhardt Jr., and they do have similarities. Dale, his fans needed to see him get a win here at this track. What do you think about that, Kyle?
Yeah, last night was an incredibly emotional win for not only Junior, but for all of the Earnhardt fans. And when I say Earnhardt fans and I say Earnhardt Nation, it's not just Dale Jr., it's Dale Jr., it's Dale Sr., it's NASCAR. Last night was an incredible night. When you saw what Junior did, he dropped to the back. He had the best car from the time the race started. But he had to drive the car. He had to put the car in position. He and Tony Eury Jr., and you saw Tony Eury Jr. when the thing was over with, walking down pit road, and the tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
I think it was an incredibly emotional day for those guys. But I'm going to go back to something David Smith said. What I remember about that race more than anything else was every single team walking out on pit road. I don't care whether you, like he said, I don't care whether you loved him, you hated him. Everybody respected what he could do with a race car. And that was one of the big moments in this sport ever. That's how simple it is.
And I think Chocolate Myers touched on it. Whether you were Bobby Labonte that ran second or the Penske cars that were back there, or fans that loved him, fans that hated him, fans that pulled against him, I think it was one of those moments in NASCAR no one begrudged that man of winning that Daytona 500.
And it's certainly accurate that he did a world of good for this sport. Well, as you've heard, last night was a very special night for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He said that that nationwide race was the only time he would drive the 3-car. He powered it to victory lane. Just behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. was Joey Logano, finishing third, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Fans, keep up with all your favorite drivers by checking out the Nationwide Insurance On Your Side race review only on NASCAR Nationwide Series. Stick with us. We'll be back with keys to the race next.
Still to come on Countdown to Green, the Ponytail Express rolls through Florida. Larry Mack gives us keys to winning at Daytona, and we'll hear from the pole sitter.
Daytona history for you now. Here is Bill France Sr. After breaking ground on swampland to build this track in 1959, it was Lee Petty who won the first race held here at Daytona. That was a photo finish. Also, Richard Petty won here after the first repaving in 1979. There's Kyle to the right there, looking sharp. And Dale Earnhardt Sr. with that magical win in 1998. Last year, it was Tony Stewart, one of his 3 summer wins at Daytona. Tony Stewart won this race last year. Some NASCAR history, but what could it be like moving forward once this track is paved? And Kyle, we talked about, you said it was going to be very, very tricky.
It'll just be, it has so much more grip, and it really depends on what Goodyear does. Goodyear obviously will come with a tire. They'll do some tire testing at Talladega, probably, because this place has to be paved and then it has to cure. And that's a big issue with a racetrack. You got to give it time to settle, to find its place. But when these guys come back, it's going to be a lot smoother. I think the bump stops will not be a non-issue on some of this stuff. But the grip level is phenomenal. Back in '79 when I won the ARCA race here, my father won the 500 here, you could drive anywhere on the racetrack anytime. And I heard Darrell Waltrip say it the other day. They'll be running 3 and 4 wide, and I believe that.
Our expert crew chief, Larry McReynolds, is down by his Toyota off-track race car, or Torque for short, presented by Toyota. Larry, I want to hear your keys to this race, but first, how are we going to be impacted by this weather that's now in our area?
Well, the thing I feel the best about, contrary to about 10 minutes ago, there is no rain falling. When I look to the west, I'm seeing a little bit of blue sky. They get this racetrack dry, she's going to be fast because she's going to have a ton of grip. But talking about my keys, a lot of these keys, they really have everything to do with what goes on the racetrack. The biggest thing is patience, give and take. We know they're going to be out there in big packs, but you know what? You can't win this race if you're in the garage area tore up. The other key is the front bumper. If you look at the front bumper of this car, it's a perfect match height-wise to the rear bumper on the car in front of you. Don't be afraid to use it. Bum drafting, we know when you hook 2 cars up, they are very, very fast, contrary to the pack, but pick and choose where you bump draft. Do it on the straightaways and don't do it in the corners. The other thing is late in the race, say 5 laps to go. You know what? There's nothing else as a crew chief that I can do. Pretty much, it's on my driver's shoulders and the guy on top of the grandstands called a spotter. Larry Mack's job is done when we get 5 to go.
Thank you, Larry. We're getting closer to going green. Jimmy Johnson has won the past 2 races. So he's won here at Daytona once. It was 2006, the Daytona 500. Can he do it again? His teammate, Jeff Gordon, now leads active drivers with 6 wins at Daytona. He'd love to finish his day in victory lane. You're watching Countdown to Green on TNT. Clint Boyer, there he is, goofing around, driver of the 33. He loved his race car during practice this week. Ryan Newman won here in 2008. His father was his spotter. It was a moment he and his dad say they will never forget. Here's a look at the Sprint Cup point standings as we're now 9 races away from the chase for the championship. Kevin Harvick, still your points leader. It's Carl Edwards, who happens to have kept himself at that much coveted 12th spot. That's for all the drivers that are on the outside looking in. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is now just 3 points away from being a chase contender should the playoffs begin now. And the rest of these drivers, they need to make something happen quickly, including Jamie McMurray, who's been extremely strong the last few restrictor plate races. He, after all, won this season's Daytona 500.
They're going to jam it in 4 wide mid-pack. Who's got enough to bring it home at Talladega? McMurray leads.
Checkered flag in the air. The 52nd Daytona 500 to Jamie McMurray. Here they come. Oh, he got him. It's Harvick. He got him. He timed it perfect.
And when you look at Jamie McMurray and all those great special moments, he's looking to add to that again tonight. If you're up for our $1 Million Fan Challenge, make sure you put the 1 car down and lock it down. With your history, especially here, you didn't even run the second practice. Is that a good idea, just how good that 1 car is?
Well, yeah, we unloaded actually with the same setup that we ran the 500, and the car drove really well. And we made a few adjustments to that practice and tried another set of tires. And the car just didn't seem to have the speed. It didn't really drive as well. So we put the original setup back in it on old tires, and it had a lot of speed again. So, you know, I talked to Bono, and I told him, I said, look, if I'm in charge of this, I said, I would like to quit right now. And he said, absolutely. We felt like we had our best car already on the track, and the backup car, even though it would be good, probably wasn't going to be as good as what we had. And they ended up having another wreck in that second practice. So I think we made the right decision. The car had a lot of speed, and it actually is faster than what we had here in February. I didn't think we had the fastest car here for the 500. We just got in the right position at the end. So should have a good night tonight.
You know, it's well documented how special the 500 win was for you. But besides you, for so many people on your team, and you had a special celebration this week.
Yeah, we, Johnny Morris, founder of Bass Pro Shops, and Chip Ganassi and I